welcome back to our channel C&K Exotics, where we teach you how we care for our exotic animals and cool pets. In today's video, as you can probably see by the title, we're going to be talking about Pac-Man frogs. You can't see this little guy because if I turn his dish or his box, his water's going to come out, and some of it already did. But that's the beauty of these animals. They like it. So let's get right into the video. So I'm going to do this video kind of like a pro and cons list of owning these frogs. If you don't have a frog and you're watching videos because you want to get one, you're on the right step already, because research, that's the best thing you can do before you get an animal. Always research the animals you're about to get. Don't just go off of somebody else or because they look cool or blah blah blah. No, research the animal, make sure they fit you, and then get it. Because what happens is when you don't research, you get it, you find out you don't like a trait about them, and then it's harder. I'm going to start off with the cons of owning these frogs, which are not a lot actually. These are really a easy animal to own. So the first con is, if you're really like a touchy person like I am, I like to own animals that I can touch. Chris, on the other hand, doesn't really care. As long as it looks good, he'll keep a venomous snake just to look at it. Me, I like to touch my pets, I like to play with them, I like to take them out of their cages, I like all that physical stuff. These animals are not really for that type of person. Basically, you shouldn't really be touching your Pac-Man frog a lot. Always wash your hands before and after handling these guys, because they can give you warts. Just kidding, they can't give you warts, but they can give you salmonella. Or let's say you touch something and you picked your guy up. Now he can absorb all the chemicals on your hand through his skin, because they do absorb stuff through their skin. So that's kind of a cool fact I just threw in there. But yeah, so you really shouldn't be touching these guys. And if you do, here and there, and it's not going to kill them, but like I said, just wash your hands before and after for the safety of you and your frog. Another reason you really shouldn't be handling your frog much is because they can bite. And they can bite your finger clean off. Again, just kidding. But still, they can bite and it will hurt. It will draw blood. So say you're holding it, you wiggle your finger a little bit, they can bite you. And they do have teeth, so it will hurt. Just saying. Another reason you shouldn't be handling your frog is because they like to jump. They don't really sit still that often. I mean, some people's can, but from what I've seen, they will jump out of your hand and they can jump to their death. Again, just kidding. I mean, I might not be kidding. I think that's possible depending on how high of a height they're jumping from. But yeah, they can jump out of your hands. They can hurt themselves. That's never really good. So just don't hold them that much, or at all. Another con, which may or may not be a con depending on what type of person you are, they eat live. They prefer to eat live animals, bugs, sometimes rodents here and there. So if you're not prepared to have live rodents, live insects around your house, or be handling them, I wouldn't say these guys are for you, because like I said, they do like to eat live food. If you don't care, then go for it. That's not a con, it doesn't affect you. But some people don't like that stuff. I hate like a dubia roach. Some people don't like roaches. A worm. Some people don't like worms. Crickets. Some people don't like crickets. And when they get big, they can even eat a little rat. And if you don't like rats, I don't think this is for you. So our next con is they do eat very aggressively. Like they lunge hard and fast. And if that's gonna scare you, don't get one of these guys. If you are a person who is afraid of frogs and them leaping, like me, then you might want to think twice about owning one of these guys. I mean, seriously, why are you even thinking about it at all if you don't like frogs? Because they're not really that different than a regular frog. But anyway, so yeah, they do eat very aggressively. Sometimes they miss. They don't even aim most of the time at what they're eating. They're just like, hey-o. So you might just want to watch out for that. If that scares you, that type of stuff makes you jittery, a frog jumping at you, I wouldn't recommend getting one. I mean, you can always use like tongs, tweezers, whatever they're called, to feed your little guy. But like I said, it's just not something I would want to do. Our next con is they cannot be housed together. So if you want multiple of these little guys, you're gonna have to set up multiple tanks or tubs, because they will literally eat anything smaller than them. So even if you think the frog is the same size as the other one, they may show you different by eating the one that you thought was the same size as that one. So yeah, don't house them together. Now that we're done with all of the cons I can think of, let's get into the pros of owning these guys. These cool, amazing guys. Their daily care is actually pretty easy. Once a day, you just want to come in, check on your frog, find him. Most of the time they'll be buried. You just want to make sure he's alive and well. You do want to spray down his soil or whatever you have him in, because they do like their soil wet and moist. Such a funny word. Anyway, you do want to clean out all the poop, any poop you see, any dead insects, anything they didn't eat, because that stuff can grow mold and it's pretty gross. If you do have a water bowl, you do want to clean it out, replace the water that's in it, because sometimes they will go in their water dish and soil it. And I do say if you have one, because these guys actually don't need to have a water bowl in their home. If you are keeping the soil as moist and wet as you need to, they will absorb all their water through there. They don't really drink water through their mouths. Like I said earlier in the con, they absorb through their skin. So, like I said, you don't really need one. If you do see your Pac-Man frog sitting in his water dish, your dirt is probably a little too dry, your soil. So I would need to spray and moisten it up for them, because they don't really like that. Really inexpensive, because they don't eat a lot. You don't have to feed these guys every single day. You can feed them every other day, depending on the size of the meal. So say if your Pac-Man frog eats like a pinky, you don't have to feed him for a couple weeks. Now say you're feeding it a worm, I would feed it like every other day at least, because worms are small. But like I said, it depends on what you're feeding these guys. You don't have to feed them every day. And that means you don't have to buy a lot of stuff to feed them every day. Unless you're buying crickets, because crickets die really easy, so they're really hard to maintain. But other than that, you're all good with this. So my next pro is that they don't need a lot of attention, which ties into the con of you can't touch them. So I guess this is not really a pro or a con, it just kind of depends on who you are. They can't be touched. So con if you like to be touching animals, pro if you're like a busy person, you don't have really enough time to bond with the animal every day. You don't want to get an animal that can turn aggressive if you don't touch it or hand tame it every day. These guys are not like that. So if you're a busy person, like I said, these guys are great for you. All you have to do is literally in their dirt, make sure they're okay, give them water. Pretty easy to me. My next pro is these guys are not loud. They make no noise. I've never heard a Pac-Man frog make a noise. Christopher said he's only ever heard one make a noise when someone was messing with it. So if you don't mess with it, you should be okay. I've never heard him make a noise. I've never heard any Pac-Man frog make a noise as long as they're not being bothered. He kind of just sits in one spot all day and chillaxes. So if you like have parents and you're not allowed to get an animal, probably get one of these, because they're probably really easy to sneak in. I'm not recommending it. I'm just saying. Just saying. Don't take my advice. So these guys don't really stink. They really have no smell to them. So your house is not going to smell like you own a Pac-Man frog. Basically their poop may have a little smell to it, because I mean it is poop, but as long as you're doing your daily cleaning and taking any poop that you see out of the enclosure, you shouldn't really be smelling anything. If your guy does stink, it's probably not him, it's probably his enclosure, and you might want to clean it by taking the soil out and like actually giving it a fresh start, because that means you probably have like weeks worth of dead stuff and poop in there, and that's not really good. So yeah, no smell, that's a good thing. So these guys actually come in a lot of colors, so I think that's a pro, because you can pick which one you want. So this guy right here is a orange, yellow, but there's like a green and red. There's a strawberry, albino. I'll put some pictures on the screen. They come in a lot of different colors, which is not the only reason you should get one, just because they look cool. But it is a pro. If you really want one, you have a lot to pick from. They're just not like a green frog. Lifespan. So these guys live for a while. I thought it was 10 years, but I actually can live for 15 years if they're being well taken care of. That's a long time. I mean, not as long as like a bird or something that lives like 20 plus years, 30s, but 15 years is a long time. So that's a good thing. Especially if you have like, I wouldn't say a young kid, because I feel like this pet isn't for a young kid, because young kids like to touch and blah 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 blah, and these frogs don't really like that. So if you are a person who grows attachments to your animals, you don't want to see them die every 1 or 2 years because of their lifespan. These are great guys for you, because they last 15 years with the proper care. So with these guys, you don't need a lot of space for their aquarium, their tank, their container. As you see, we keep ours in a tub in our snake rack, and that is perfectly okay with them. They don't need more than a 10-gallon tank. They literally just sit in one spot and don't move. The only reason they would move is because maybe that spot is too cold or too hot, so they kind of go to a different spot that the temperature is just right, whatever they're looking for. They do sit and wait for their food to come to them, which is again why they like live. A dead bug can't really come to them. So these guys are perfect for like no room type houses, if you don't really have a lot of space for a pet. Maybe you live in a studio, I'm not sure, but these are great for that. My next pro is that the substrate these guys are in is not really expensive. I recommend use the Eco Earth compressed coconut fiber. So they do come in like a big bag or bricks, and you can get like 3 bricks for like $8 on chewy.com, I believe. Just Google it, they'll pop up. And that will probably last you a while, a couple months, a lot of months actually. Which brings me to my next pro. As long as you're spot cleaning these guys daily, you should be able to get away with not having to completely change out their whole soil for like what, every other month. You should be able to do that, like I said, as long as you're spot cleaning daily, because these guys really don't make that big of a mess. So that kind of makes the soil or whatever you're using last longer, because you're not using it week by week by week. You're just doing it every other month. Make sure that you have enough soil or whatever you're using for them to fully be able to bury themselves. Just an option for the frog. They like to do that. Temperature. As long as you're keeping the room, average room 65 to 75, as long as you're keeping them in a room like that, they don't need a light. Some people do put a heating mat underneath the tub. I would recommend putting it on like the wall of the tub, like half of the tub. Don't put it on the whole wall, just a little bit, because they do like to move. So say if they get too hot and you have it on the whole wall, all of the area will be hot. So you have like a hot space and a cold space, and that works perfect for them. If they get too hot, they'll just move over. They get too cold, they just move over. So you don't need lights, which means you don't need an extra thing plugged into the wall, which means you can bring your electricity bill down just a smidge if you don't have a heating mat, of course. But heating mats are less energy used than light anyway. Like this guy, he's on a heating mat, like a little bit, because he's on our snake rack, and our snake rack has the heating mat. That is the end of my video. I just want to say that I am not a vet. We are not professional vets over here. If you have any emergencies, please contact your own vet. Do not come to our video for emergencies and try to figure out what to do. This is just how we care for our Pac-Man frogs. Like I said, do your own research. It's always important to do your own research about the animal you want. But, I mean, they are kind of cool if you like frogs. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching our video. I hope you stay tuned for more videos. I hope you subscribe, like, comment, and share. And that's about it. Bye, guys. Get this thing away from me. Just kidding.